All right, time for a new episode. So, folks, you know what that means. It's time for some pre-calibrations, time for some pre-cals. And Robert, what's going on? Well, before what's going on, where's where's Emerson?
I don't know. I have a feeling our questions may not be quite as intelligent today.
I think you'll make up for that. I definitely not me. So,
Well, Emerson, he always brings the heat when it comes to asking the probing and sophisticated questions. So we'll do our best to keep it in the road today.
agreed. But yeah, so what's going on?
All right. So today we dive into the mind shaping innovation and technology. Joining us today is Hamed Hanafi, who is the CEO of NovaResp. He has a PhD in biomedical engineering with an MSc in electrical and electronics engineering from Dalhousie University. Hamed is a recognized leader in the respiratory technology space. As an adjunct professor at Dalhousie, he bridges academia and industry, driving cutting edge solutions in the fight against sleep apnea and other breathing disorders. Under his leadership, NovaResp is pioneering breakthroughs that are transforming the future of respiratory health. Stay tuned as we explore Hamed's inspiring journey, the challenges of innovation, and his vision for a healthier tomorrow.
All right, it sounds like we have another one of these underachievers on the show, huh? My gosh, so a
Incredible.
PhD, huh?
Yes, incredible guest that we get to meet here on the podcast, and I think it's going to be interesting. We've talked a little bit about the fact that we all know that we need better technology from a PAP therapy perspective for our patient populations, and he is on the cutting edge of delivering an AI auto CPAP algorithm. So can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah, that is exciting. I mean, I remember back when we were at Respironics, how it it was like a wonder to figure out what is the next algorithm going to be and how much more can we do. We can't really do much more. And I remember one of the engineers like, "Hey, we're just getting started." And I remember as a clinician thinking, "What more can we do?" And to hear now to leverage AI to create a new algorithm and make something that's more comfortable for patients is just absolutely exciting. And we were lucky enough to have some of the others developing these things, with Dr. Noah and the other gentleman from the University of Cleveland, right? I can't
Yes,
remember the yes,
that's it.
University,
Yep.
yeah, the
Vortex.
rocket scientist, Vortex Lab with the rocket scientist. So it's going to be interesting to hear AI now for this.
Absolutely. Let's jump into the show.
All right, on the show. Now, a word from our sponsor, Medbridge Healthcare. Medbridge Healthcare is a leading provider of sleep lab management services and home sleep apnea testing. Medbridge partners with hospitals, healthcare systems, and medical academic institutions to offer comprehensive, fully integrated services for sleep disorders.
Lights out.
Welcome, everyone, once again to another episode of Sleep Tech Talk, the sleep podcast with your hosts and friends, Emerson Kerr, Robert Miller, and me, Dr. Gerald George Mannikarote. Folks, you will notice a missing person today, and we won't give it away right now. But in the meanwhile, we just want to say thank you so much for all the support that you've given us, all these episodes, all these years. We can't thank you enough for that. We've grown so much only because of you. Please continue to like, please continue to subscribe, and most importantly, please continue to share. Share the episode, share the podcast with all your sleep technologist friends, all those in the sleep industry, as well as those that are sleep curious. A huge shout out to our sponsors without whom we can't do this. So thank you all so much. And folks, be sure to check out our sponsors as well. With that being said, we've got an amazing guest today for this amazing show. Robert, who's on the show
Yes.
today?
Hey, Jerry. Thanks everyone for joining the show today. We have with us Hamed Hanafi, who is the CEO of a new company called NovaResp. You may have started to see more information about NovaResp, but it is an AI auto CPAP algorithm, and we're excited to learn about Hamed's journey into sleep medicine, but then also the development of this new CPAP algorithm. We certainly need more tools to help our patients from an adherence and a PAP therapy standpoint. So we're excited today to hear more. Dr. Hanafi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into sleep medicine, and then we'll jump into the AI algorithm.
Firstly, thanks so much for having me. Hello, everyone. So my background is in electrical engineering, master's in microelectronics, and then during the PhD, I got into the biomedical engineering with the focus on respiratory mechanics. I also took business courses during that PhD. And that's where I got interested, generally in medical devices with focus on respiratory. And then later on, I got familiar with, new ideas and how to help patients in the respiratory field with focus on anesthesia machines at first. Another motivational factor here is that my father has severe sleep apnea with an AHI of 70. I was diagnosed and didn't want to use his CPAP machine. So I slowly got interested and wanted to make the therapy better. Started working with key opinion leaders and came up with an idea to track changes faster. And then later on in 2018, came up with the idea of what if we could predict and prevent apneas to help patients? And we can get into that during the podcast.
Well, that's fantastic. I think that in order for you to have recognized that was the need for this advancement from an auto algorithm standpoint, you must have done some research on the current offerings that are on the market and found maybe a space where there were some opportunities for improvement. I'm assuming.
Yes. So acclimation to therapy is pretty difficult at first. There's a lot of advancements that have been made. I should first honestly step back and say that I really appreciate the work that has gone into CPAP, APAP, and other therapy here at NovaResp is an evolution to that and to make things better and move forward. And just making things predictive instead of reactive. The research we had done was that the acclimation to therapy seemed difficult. And a lot of the issues came from at first accepting that you're gonna have to wear a mask and deal with the tube and the machine on your bedside table. But through interviewing respiratory therapists that were setting up patients at DMEs, I realized there is a big missing information here where it's the pressure and airflow that's being delivered through the mask. And a lot of patients might at first think that it's the mask that's the problem, but you realize that sometimes patients are sleeping and at first the pressure is low and they accept it because the doctor told them, you're going to get heart attacks and strokes if you don't use this machine. So they fall asleep with it, but somehow they don't sometimes even remember ripping the mask off. They don't have it on. And as you know, having it on for more than 4 hours a night is very important. And at that point, we started thinking of how could we use what we have found in terms of predicting and preventing apneas to lower the pressure of therapy and make it more comfortable in this application. And I have to say, the application of this algorithm is bigger than CPAP therapy and sleep apnea. You can make any sort of ventilation sort of predictive and preventative instead of being reactive. But we decided to focus on CPAP for personal motivation, and it's the trials are at home and easier to conduct trials at the hospital, and we had access to data.
So, Doc, you had mentioned just now predictive as opposed to just simply interventional. So, when you talk about predictive, do you see? I know you said other applications, but let's focus on CPAP right now. What other applications apart from just the patient doesn't rip it off the face? What other applications could we look forward to with this?
In terms of general med tech? or in terms
No,
of
no, no.
CPAP?
In CPAP itself, when you're talking about predictive, are we going to be able to use this to better leverage on how we understand patients requiring CPAP, for example?
Absolutely. So there's multiple aspects to this. So when we know that long-term adherence is super important. And we know that patients that are even adherent to therapy in the beginning, they meet the criteria, the cost of the machine is covered. Long-term adherence still drops. And it's partly due to not going through sleep staging and actually feeling the benefits of better sleep long-term. And that's because the algorithms were not necessarily designed for that. They were aimed at lowering AHI. So this is where our algorithm really comes in handy, where based on our trial results that I'll discuss, it seems like patients are having better sleep staging and comfort. Now, it's partly due to lowering the pressure and not having to tighten the mask as much and such, but we've seen better results in existing patients that have been using the machines for 2 to 4 years. They rated our algorithm better. And we were using a sleep tracker ring called Sleep Image Ring that through cardiopulmonary coupling, as you're familiar, was scoring sleep staging. And we saw significant improvements there as well.
So I'm assuming that the patient experience is better because of a lower mean pressure that's able to be delivered through the AI algorithm. I also know that, looking at some of the other algorithms that are available on the market today, some are flow-based. I know that, there's also volume that makes up, some of the auto algorithms. But then, I've even heard recently where there's a work of breathing type of algorithm that's being developed. Maybe NovaResp takes all of those things into account. Can you tell us as much as you can about that specific part of the algorithm?
So in lump sum, yes, but our approach is through using AI. And let me elaborate here. We've designed it in a way that while our IP covers the use of other inputs, CMAP was designed for CPAPs in a way that would only use the sensors that is available on any CPAP machine in the market. So it could be applicable to them. And what it does is that it predicts apneas before they would have. It's trained by breathing patterns of millions of samples of breathing patterns. So it generates probabilities of the future. It's like a weather forecast. If you know the rain is coming, you sort of set up your yard for the rain that's coming. So it constantly generates probabilities in terms of what's going to happen in the future. Now, any sort of breathing abnormality or predicting that it's going to be normal breathing. By doing so, when these probabilities cross a certain threshold, let's say we know an obstructive event is coming, you can intervene gently before that apnea to prevent apneas. Now, we've done trials to prove that this prevention is possible, because first, when we realized that you can predict apneas, we were thinking, how come nobody else did this? There must be something wrong with this. So we had to design a trial to see, are we actually preventing apneas? We did that at the hospital with full-on pulse sonography and proved that in another trial back in 2020. Now, then in 2023, we focused on actually lowering the pressure, not just preventing the apneas that are coming on top of APAP. And what it does is that it's one thing to prevent apneas, but still it's inevitable that some apneas would happen, right? So you need to have the reactive APAP enabled to keep therapy safe. The difference is when pressure goes up after an apnea, now because you have confidence in these probabilities, instead of decaying the pressure for the next 40 minutes, an hour, hoping that no more apneas would happen, you can drop the pressure back down and look at the probabilities. So that's where this happens. And then also it's adapting on the patient, where it tries to find the right pressure, which is what APAP tried to do, but in a reactive way. This one is trying to do it in a proactive way. So it finds the right pressure, the lowest pressure possible for that patient. Just to add the possibilities that would come out of this, we've trained this algorithm with the general population data, so it would be applicable to the general population. But think about a future when, actual application of AI is possible through the regulatory pathways. Now, all of a sudden, if you can categorize phenotype patients into groups, which we have IP on as well, and we've tested it. There's a couple of abstracts that I'll be presenting at the American Thoracic Society that's upcoming on this. You can categorize patients into groups, like patients with diabetes, patients with cardiovascular health, patients that have a high hypoxic burden. You could categorize those patients and then develop their own algorithm with the breathing patterns specific to that population. So that would be the phenotyping part. And then think of the individual. Every individual is breathing different from the other. You can't have a one-size-fits-all type of solution. On the individual, if you train our algorithm with, you take the general one, and then you feed more and more of the individual's breathing pattern on it. Now, all of a sudden, you can push an update to the CPAP machine where it treats the individual's type of breathing. And then, over time, also, we're not always breathing the same. Over time, I could be developing asthma, COPD. All of a sudden, my breathing patterns are changing. And, there could be updates applied. So the possibilities are endless. But for now, it's a fixed model that can predict and prevent and find the lowest pressure possible for the patient during therapy.
Are you a sleep tech looking for new opportunities? Well, Medbridge Healthcare is one of the largest employers of sleep technologists, and they are growing. If you are a sleep technologist interested in a new position, potential paid relocation, or looking for a career advancement, consider a career with Medbridge Healthcare. Now back to the show.
Doc, that's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating what you're talking about. But I want to just kind of move a little bit now to sleep staging. Could you talk a little bit more about that? That sounded also fascinating.
So just a disclaimer here. The obvious thing is that sleep staging with EEG is the most accurate sleep staging. But we all know that doing trials at the hospital with uncomfortable beds in the EEG, patients have a hard time sleeping. So we designed a trial that we started and completed in 2024 to compare CMAP with APAP on the same machine with a switch on it. Also to explain how we do this, we modify a machine, we go to Health Canada and ask for permission to run this on a limited number of patients, just to compare performance of the common algorithm versus ours. And then we recruited patients that already were used to their CPAP. And to be honest, when we started the trial, we weren't expecting improvements in sleep staging. We just started this trial on existing patients because they don't have leaks. They don't have problems with their mask. Now you can actually head-to-head compare algorithms. So we did a trial where for 9 days, they would use APAP or our software. It's a crossover randomized trial. We threw out the first 2 days because it's acclimation. Patients think we're trying 2 new algorithms on them. They don't know one of them is the exact algorithm on their home machine. In between transferring over to the other algorithm, they filled out the questionnaire firstly to rank how they did with the first algorithm, and then 5 nights of washout period where they go back on their own machine, and then they turn the switch that's randomized and use the new algorithm. And we were tracking them the whole time. They fill out the questionnaire at the end of that too. And this whole time they're wearing the sleep image ring. So we just did this to prove that we can reduce the pressure without compromising efficacy or AHI or SAHI. SAHI is an AHI that sleep imaging outputs that is equivalent. They've shown that it has over 90% correlation with the pulse somnography AHI. So we showed that we could reduce the pressure by 20%. There varies between patients, some more, some less, without compromising AHI. But then the staggering results were from sleep staging. They spit out a number called a sleep quality index that is a combination of REM sleep, fragmentation, stable sleep, unstable sleep. So we significantly improved stable sleep. We significantly reduced unstable sleep. We improved REM sleep. We reduced fragmentation. And we reduced something they call, I believe, wakefulness. But it was correlating. It's just arousals. So we reduced arousals, but then this correlated with the comfort and sleepiness questionnaire, Epworth sleepiness questionnaire that we sent to patients. The results, while CPAP improves sleepiness to the acceptable level and comfort to the acceptable level if you're compliant, there was a significant difference between the level of comfort they experienced with ours and the level of sleepiness that was reduced on them. So this was on 50 patients. Obviously, when this is applied to a specific hardware, it's going to be tested on a larger number of patients, and newer generations of CMAP are also coming out. But it was pretty promising. And that's when we gained a lot of attention as we presented this at European Respiratory Society conference back in Vienna.
Fantastic. I've got two questions for you, not necessarily related, but so one of the things that certainly auto algorithms have to manage for a patient is mask leak. So maybe you could share a little bit of how the AI algorithm manages mask leak. But then secondly, from a patient standpoint, is the goal to have NovaResp become an AI algorithm and a manufacturer platform, or is it something that a patient would be able to apply to their own existing CPAP device potentially in the future and change their therapy?
Great question. So leak was significantly reduced in those patients. So one of the surprising comments we received from patients voluntarily was from their partners. So our study coordinator would go to collect the device, and then the partner calls her in and says, hey, like, I've been sleeping next to my wife or husband for a while, and this was the easiest I could sleep because I don't get the air draft to my face, as much air draft, and the noise was less. And looking into actual numbers from leak, we reduced the 95th percentile leak significantly. And a 95th percentile leak, as you know, is the leak that blows out of the mask and wakes up yourself and your partner. So that was another sign of, okay, we're probably going to do well with adherence. And if there's time, I'll explain our adherence trial as well on brand new patients.
Well, Jerry is always our timekeeper, and I thought that we would probably be getting to the end of. But the second part of the question was where you see the auto algorithm being administered to a patient, whether it's through a manufacturer device or a patient's self application of their CPAP unit.
Absolutely. So firstly, our team is very purpose-driven. The final answer is it's going to be on manufacturers' devices, but team is purpose-driven. We want this to reach millions of patients, the current and future versions of the algorithm. So the fastest way to get it to patients is through manufacturers that already have access to patients. It's the most logical path for us. In 2023, when I was telling you that we were fully developing the algorithm, that was tested on our own parents, our own aunts and uncles, until it got to a place then we could go to a legit trial. We do have a lot of interest in talks with the manufacturers. Personally, and the team is focused on running and finishing our adherence trial and keep tracking our long-term adherence results. But there's a lot of talks. So I think we'll be on a or potentially multiple manufacturers' machines in the future.
So, Doc, we are getting close to time, but I did have a question for you because Emerson's not here today, and you said one word that would have perked his ears, and that was phenotyping. Can you speak a little bit more about that? Just because Emerson's not here.
I can talk more about it now because we have filed the patent for it. But as we were collecting data on patients, we're and the importance of phenotyping. Your audience knows the importance of it. All the sleep and neurology doctors are emphasizing on the importance of not applying CPAP therapy as a one-size-fits-all. So we noticed differences in the breathing patterns of patients, and we know the importance of linking that into health metrics and biometrics that come from patients. And as I just said, we have a big database now. After the comfort study, we continued collecting data, and we have a big database of patients with their biometrics and comorbidities. And through that, we managed to create a map of comorbidities and health metrics that would match with specific categorized sort of clusters of patients that have a specific breathing pattern or apnea signatures. And through that, we know that either during the diagnosis or the first bit of therapy, we can categorize patients into different groups. And when the regulatory pathway is available, we could apply their own versions of algorithm to them for better outcomes. Could I quickly explain how we're seeing long-term adherence?
Please do. Please do.
Yeah, so our most important trial started back in the summer, where we have patients that are in month 8 of trial. These are brand new patients. We're following a US DME protocol where we merged the versions of several large DMEs in the US and a single study coordinator and a single RT to assist all patients. This is on 200 patients, 100 go on APAP and 100 go on CMAP, both on a brand new looking device. They just got diagnosed, these patients. We're halfway done with this trial with some patients in month 8. Because we're halfway done, I can't give percentages, but short-term and long-term adherence are looking extremely promising. Long-term adherence, to our surprise, is actually distancing itself from APAP further. We thought it might merge, but it's even larger. The other results, like the labor cost at DME, the amount that our team needs to call the patients and adjust things, or patients approach them for adjusting, is much less due to less leak and lower pressures. And the questionnaires are looking pretty promising as well. But the most important metric I will give you today is patients are sleeping much, much longer on the CMAP arm compared to the APAP arm.
Those are amazing results. That's exactly what we need. I think in the world of this novel pharmaceutical treatment for sleep apnea that seems to be on the horizon with more and more candidates in that space, we need better PAP therapy, because we ultimately know that it's still the gold standard of treatment, but we need to make it so that it's more tolerant for patients to be able to utilize and comfortable, and not something that patients dread the thought of. So thank you for being a part of developing the future.
Thanks
I
so
agree.
much.
I agree. We thank you so much for that. I mean, people are talking right now. We have all this technology. Why is CPAP just exactly the same as it was 30, 40, 50 years ago? Just the reverse vacuum cleaner. So why aren't we doing that? And for you to harness, like you said, millions and millions of breathing patterns and leveraging AI for that, we thank you so much for the direction that you're taking the therapy.
Thank you. What we're doing is just something that makes sense. A lot of the artists tell us, oh, we see the pattern with our own eyes. We know it's coming. So machines can do it too. It's gonna evolve.
Well, thank you so much, Doc. And we are out of time. If people want to find more information, where can they go?
NovaResp.ai is our website, is where the information could be found about us.
Excellent. So you heard it here, folks, NovaResp.ai, and we're going to have more information in the show notes for you. But until next time, we say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all the likes, all the subscriptions, and most importantly, all the shares. Huge shout out to our sponsors, without whom we can't do this. Be sure to check out the sponsors as well. And until next time, we say,
before we go, we would like to thank our sponsor, Medbridge Healthcare. Medbridge Healthcare is developing innovative inpatient, post-discharge, and population health programs to screen comorbid conditions, diagnose and treat sleep disorders. Learn more about their innovative solutions and career opportunities at medbridgehealthcare.com. Once again, you can learn more about their innovative solutions and career opportunities at medbridgehealthcare.com.
All right, then. That was quite a show, so that means it's time for some post-calibrations. Robert, what'd you think?
We're so close. We're so close to having more tools, more sophistication as it relates to the delivery of CPAP therapy. And I just can't wait till these things are commercially available. It sounds like they're nearing the end of some of their clinical trials at NovaResp, and then I did ask the question: is it something that a patient's going to add to their machine, or would it be potentially in a manufacturer's PAP device? And it sounds like the manufacturer is certainly the route that they're going to take. And so we're interested. I'm interested to see what that's going to look like. We know who the manufacturers are that are out there, and there are many others that are trying to get through the FDA approval. So it feels like we're in a race to a better patient experience.
I agree. It's really exciting, and yeah, we are this close. And once these kind of things happen, it's just going to get more and more. And I think it's going to be even better for the patients. And you had mentioned this during the show about the novel therapies that are coming out, and then you have something like this on the other side of it. But I wouldn't say combat that, but to have another opportunity for patients to try CPAP once again, to make it more comfortable without the risk of the side effects that you have with an orally ingested therapy. So I think it's just exciting overall for us to see the direction that things are going. There was a time when CPAP was about having a tower next to your bed. Then it got to be so small that you could carry it around anywhere. But the basic technology in there remained the same. Now to hear something else that changes so that it predicts what you need and delivers a therapy so that it's not remaining super high during the night and makes the patient uh, the other exciting part is not just the patient but also the bed partner say that it wasn't blowing in my face. That's really something to be grateful for. Um,
Absolutely agree. He mentioned the fact that, the response to sleep disorder breathing events with an algorithm, has historically left the pressure at elevated levels, potentially
right.
over the long period, over a longer period of time when maybe that's not exactly what's necessary to maintain a patient's airway. So, the delivery of lower pressure and is certainly going to drive patient adherence and adoption. And if there was better technology, my guess is that less patients would seek out some of these other potential pharmaceutical treatments and that sort of thing for sleep apnea. So stay tuned, America. There's lots of technology on the CPAP therapy standpoint, or forefront that's on the horizon. So we're excited to be a part of it, and you heard it here first most of the time. We sort of brought KPAP before many people had heard about it in the industry. We had the Vortex PAP researcher on the program, and now we have NovaResp and their CMAP algorithm. So we're excited to be a part of the future of sleep medicine.
Agreed, and it's not just Stay Tuned America. Don't forget, he presented this at the European Respiratory Society, so it's going to be
Sure.
going out to the rest of the world as well. So
That's
very,
great.
very exciting times.
Absolutely.
And I mean, shout out to Emerson, man. I wish he was here. I think he would have really enjoyed this. Dr. Hanafi, he spoke about phenotyping, and I know
And
that's Emerson's thing. He wasn't
it was
here for
a
that.
buzzword. It caught my attention, and I immediately feel like zoned in that Emerson should have been here.
Hey, Emerson, this one's for you. All right.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Uh, Folks out there, thank you so much once again. And I hope you enjoyed this show and what you and the latest news in CPAP. So until next time, we say cheers. Take care.
Sleep Tech Talk is sponsored by ReactHealth. Within our LunaPAP device line, each offering is FDA approved, encompassing CPAP, APAP, bilevel, and bilevel ST models. Our thoughtfully selected array of PAP interfaces and accessories complement our LunaPAP device line while accommodating diverse patient requirements.